Hi everyone, it's Kate with Maritime Ceramics, and today we are going to be doing a test of Amaco's Seaweed, which is PC42. Seaweed's a really popular glaze. It's been around for a while. People mostly seem to use it in combination. And what I have done with it, I mean, I've used it for a couple of years now, I use it typically over Celadon. So I do a lot of work using it over Wasabi Celadon, and I've used it over Pear Celadon and the Storm Celadon as well, and it does beautiful things. But I am interested to see how it performs on its own and how it performs in combination with some other glazes. So today we're going to combine it with Winterwood, which is from Mayco, Copper Float, which is also a Mayco glaze. I'm going to dip a pot into the Snow Celadon, so we'll see what that looks like. And then I'm also going to try dipping a pot into Laguna's Power Turquoise, because I think that could be quite interesting. I am preparing for a couple of flower-related festivals that are coming up. There's a violet festival and then a tulip festival, so I have lots of little succulent planters because they're cute and they make for good test tiles. So let's get to it. Should we dip these guys first? Probably. While I'm mixing up the Snow Celadon, I've got a question for you all. I am working on the editing portion of a video. I have done a large pottery project and I've filmed the process, and it's one that was inspired by Pottery to the People. But as I'm editing, I've gotten it down to about an hour, and I feel like if I cut more out, then I'm gonna start cutting out parts of the process that might be useful or interesting. So I'm curious to know if you guys would watch a two-parter. If I released the two parts of it maybe in the same week, would you guys watch that? Or is that just way too much information on one project and you would rather have a more condensed half-hour or 45-minute video that shows the whole thing in one shot, even if you miss some of the drama? So let me know down in the comments. I've not waxed these, so I'll be wiping the bottoms. This one's a tricky one. I probably should have waxed this. It's kind of tricky to get the bottom without getting the pot itself, but I think that looks pretty good. I'm not doing any red test tiles this time, and that is not because I don't think seaweed will perform well on red. I just don't happen to have any. I find in my studio, because it is a very small studio, I've only got one wheel, I have to clean really, really well when I switch clays. Not so much switching from white to red, but when I switch from red to white. I have to do a really deep clean, otherwise that iron that's in the red clays just kind of infects all of your work. So, all of that to say, I have been working with red clay for a while, and I'm about to go into another kind of red clay cycle. I tend to switch back and forth more often during the summer because I take everything outside and just hose it down. And then, then I might have the opposite problem where I don't have any white test tiles. So I'm going to make a point of using up my reclaim to make a whole bunch of tiny pots so that I can keep doing glaze reviews for you guys throughout the summer. Now this combination, Winterwood and Seaweed, I am expecting to run. Seaweed does run a lot when it's paired with other glazes. And Winterwood paired with other glazes also runs a lot. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom with this. I see people online, Facebook groups and whatnot, claiming that seaweed runs on its own, but I have actually glazed things just with seaweed. Not for a long time, and it was really, it didn't budge. But what I will probably do with this guy is put little pieces of wadding underneath the bottom of it, and so it'll be elevated, so if it drips, it'll be easier to deal with. For those of you who watched my copper float video, I do have a video just on this, and I was trying to dial in the perfect combination of conditions to get the nice big sequins out of this. Thick and warm does seem to be the way to go. But you can still go watch the video because it's a good video anyway. You see results on different clays and at different temperatures and all that good stuff. Okay, so in this one I'm going to leave a bit of a bare rim, and then I will overlap the seaweed with the copper float just to see what that looks like. Oops, that was not smart. I think probably what's left, I hope, is just the iron oxide, which is fine. It's not going to stick. I guess we'll find out. Copper float does sometimes run on its own. So I think I will probably just put 2 coats on the legs and 3 or 4, what did I say? 4 coats everywhere else. Power turquoise is a pretty forgiving glaze. The main problem that I have with it is pinholing and orange peeling. I don't get blisters, but I do get the little pinholes. And I think it's a thickness issue, so I will continue to play with that and get the specific gravity dialed in. Okay, really should have waxed these. Most brush-on glazes you can pour without too much of a problem. There are some that really don't take well to it, but in general, I will pour the insides of things. These obviously, the succulent planters have holes in them, so there's no pouring those, but you do have to like kind of hang it there for a little while to let the glaze drip out. And that's because the brushing glazes are basically dipping glazes with additives in them to make them spread more easily and dry slower so that you have time to brush them on. I'm also going to be doing a full review of Winterwood soon, so keep your eyes out for that one. So I've got 2 coats on the legs now, so I'm not doing any more on the legs. So they should look kind of metallic. The thinner coat, you don't get those big kind of sequins from copper float, so that's okay. I think that'd be very cute. This is dry enough. I've talked about this in other videos, I have been struggling with my Snow Celadon. It's been doing a lot of crawling. I bought this to act as a liner glaze, but I've been having a lot of failures, and so I'm kind of hesitant to use it that way now. So experimenting to see what will actually work. One of the things that I have found is that with the Celadons in the dipping form, you need to put your second coat on before the first coat totally dries. So like it's got to be dry to the touch, but this is still quite cool. It's still got quite a bit of moisture in it. If I wait until this is actually dry, it gets like a powdery surface on it, and the next glaze just won't stick to it. And that seems to be where most of the crawling is coming from. Now, I think I'm actually gonna wait and do the outside of this last in case that copper float contaminates the brush, which I feel like it probably will. Okay, we're all done. Let's review what we're putting into the kiln. So first of all, we have this little guy, and this has 3 coats of just seaweed, nothing else, inside and out. And then we have this little vase, which has 2 coats of Mayco's Winterwood, and then 2 coats of the seaweed on the rim and poured inside. I am expecting this one to run a lot, which is why I didn't glaze down at the bottom. This is Laguna Power Turquoise, and this was dipped. And then there are 3 coats of seaweed on the rim. This is Copper Float from Mayco, so that's the red. And we have 3 coats of seaweed on the inside and on the top. And there's 4 coats of copper, did I say copper red? Copper Float. So there's 4 coats on the body and just 2 coats on the legs. And last, but certainly not least, we have our Snow Celadon. So this is a dip of Snow Celadon and then 3 coats of seaweed on the rim. So let's pop them in the kiln and see what happens. Results are out of the kiln, and actually they've all pretty much turned out. I mean, I like some better than others, but quite pleased with how seaweed has performed. Before we get into the results, this is a great time for you to hit the like button, the subscribe, all that good stuff. All of it really does help. It helps YouTube to know that people are interested, and then it shows the video to more people, which is awesome. And this video, I'm honestly not sure how well it's going to do because seaweed has been out for a long time, and I don't know if people are just more interested in the new glaze reviews or if there is interest in these kind of studio staples, which I feel like seaweed really is for a lot of people. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Let's have a look at them. And then I've also got a couple of examples of pieces that I make on a regular basis that I use seaweed on so that you can see what those look like too. First of all, let's have a look at seaweed on its own. So this is pretty glossy, and I'm not sure how well this is going to come across on screen. In person, I think this is a really pretty color. It's kind of almost a sage green color, and you can see there's a fair bit of variation in the surface, so it's not a flat color. It's showing the texture. I am actually quite surprised. I have used seaweed once before, all on its own, and it didn't turn out like this at all. Yeah, it was kind of much darker and a little bit more metallic, so I don't know if it was a different kind of clay. Well, it would have been. It was on Tucker's clay, and this is Pottery Supply House. And like I said, these were all made out of reclaim, but I'm gonna guess, yeah, that is definitely more stoneware than porcelain. I do mix the two together in my reclaim. No pinholes, no blisters. It did not run at all. I did put it on a few pieces of wadding. This is really pretty, and I might actually do more of this. I really quite like this. So that's seaweed all by itself. And then we did seaweed over Winterwood. This one I am quite surprised by. I kind of vaguely remembered having tried this once before, and it turned out kind of a gorgeous metallic combination. This is not that. Personally, I find this underwhelming, but that's, I think, just because it wasn't what I was going for. The combination did run just the once. Again, I had it on wadding, so I'll be able to just sand that down. It'll be fine. But I don't know. Not super excited about this one. However, I will say that there were no pinholes and no blisters, so I guess points for that. Then we have Seaweed and Copper Float. This is interesting. It really does. I remember I had said that probably the legs would look a little bit metallic because there were only a couple of coats. Well, the whole thing really does look like a kind of a dull metal shade, kind of a rusted iron, except underneath where you have this kind of fascinating effect happening with the copper float. However, it does kind of just look like seaweed and copper float. Now, this overlap here has kind of gone more matte than the copper float would typically go. It would be interesting to see what this did on a larger piece, where you have more space down here for the copper float to shine. There are some pinholes on this guy, which is interesting. So I think this is the only one that pinholed, and it only pinholed right at the top where it's just the seaweed. So not really sure what happened there. Then we have our snow and seaweed tester. And this one entertains me a lot. I can see this. I used it on this pot in particular because it kind of looks like a witch's cauldron to me a little bit. I don't know why. This one's maybe more cauldron-y, but anyway. And it definitely has kind of some witchy vibes to it, I think, which I love. It's this bright, bright green. It has kind of run like a little bit, but not very much. Lots of kind of variation happening along the top here. Again, super, super shiny, so it's going to be difficult to get this captured well for you. But I could see using this for some stuff. I mean, any time of year, but I don't know why. It's kind of got a Halloween vibe in a good way to me. So I will definitely be using this combo again. Also very pleased to say that there's no crawling, no pitting, no pinholing. Putting the seaweed on before this Snow Celadon dried seems to have done the trick. I don't think I will be relying on the Snow Celadon for production just yet, but at least it's good to know that this seems to work. So these are the guys that I did on screen. Now, in my professional life, I very often use seaweed on top of Wasabi Celadon. So this is Amaco's Wasabi Celadon, and I use it on the handles of these, partly because I think it looks pretty, but also because handle attachments always look wonky to me. I'm just never quite satisfied with them. And if I do just the Celadon, all I can see are the bits of the handle attachments that I don't like. So this kind of helps to meld it together, and you get these really delicious runs down at the bottom here. And there is a bit of a blue that comes through when it's layered over the Wasabi Celadon. It will run into the Celadon, but not a lot. Like you can see here, I mean, it ran, but still behaved itself. Sometimes I do get a drip at the bottom of the handle, just depending on how thick everything is and the design of the handle and all that good stuff. And then I have also been using it over top of the Pear Celadon. So I tried this in the Pear Celadon video, so you can go check that out to see it happening in action, and I've really enjoyed it. So I have continued to do a few pieces in this combination. I don't know if this is going to go into regular rotation. I've got some markets coming up, and I'm going to take these and see how they sell. And if they sell, I might actually buy the dipping version of this. I almost forgot this one. Can't believe that. This is the Laguna Power Turquoise in a dip form with the 3 coats of seaweed on the rim of it. And as you can see, the seaweed just ran right down to the bottom, but still well behaved, although just barely. This has really come right down to the edge. And there's a little bit of the kiln wash here that will need to be sanded off, but not too much. There is also some pinholing here, some of that kind of orange peel effect. So it was too much glaze, I would say. I think my Laguna Power Turquoise just needs to be thinned down a little bit more. This is a really pretty effect, although I will say that it's kind of like a lot of floating blues. So I don't know how unique this is, but it's very pretty. I think you're mostly seeing the reflection of my camera tripod here, so I apologize for that. It's really difficult with these super shiny glazes to get a good image. Okay, we're now in my kitchen with the cat, so apologize for that, but I do think this is better lighting. She's very unhappy with me. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing at this time of day. I don't know what that is, but so this guy was very pretty. I think if you're careful with the thickness of the Power Turquoise, it could work quite nicely. But again, it does kind of look a lot like some of the floating blues that are out there. So, you know, you'll make your decisions accordingly. You can see the difference here. This is what the Power Turquoise looked like on its own. The cat does not like the Power Turquoise. You're not helpful. She doesn't care. So in the center there is just Power Turquoise. And then on the sides is the seaweed, and where the seaweed has run down with the Power Turquoise. So seaweed, Amaco Seaweed. I love it. I think a lot of people love it. It's very popular. I rarely see it used on its own, and I think that's a shame because this is a lovely, earthy kind of glaze, and I think it's really underrated. I'd love to hear how you use seaweed in your studio if you are using it already. Have you found some layering combos that you absolutely love and I should give a try? Do you use it all on its own? Am I just not hearing about the people who use it on its own? Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments, and let me know too. I like to check in every once in a while and see what you guys would be interested in seeing in terms of glaze reviews. If there's a particular glaze that you would really love to see tested out, let me know down in the comments. You never know, it might show up in a future video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and for spending some time with me today. I will see you next time. Happy potting!